Hello, everybody. My name is Will Thompson with eSchool Wichita. I'm the business instructor here at the eSchool. I am going to go over a section in financial literacy that a lot of students struggle with. That's section 432, dealing with savings accounts. Most students struggle with trying to calculate the APY formula. So I'm going to demonstrate how that's calculated. I think giving a visual demonstration will help. When a lot of students come in for tutoring, that's the part they struggle with the most. So I'm going to explain what APY is and then demonstrate, what the formula is on the board, and also share my video screen with you guys to show you how to calculate it on the calculator. So first off, let me go ahead and just share my screen with you, and we're going to go over a few things with APY. First off, APY is calculated based on whatever the bank's APR is given and how many times the account compounds per year. So when you're dealing with APY, it really depends on the amount of times the interest rate is going to compound in any given year as to what APY will be. So instead of figuring out how much interest you're going to earn like over a period of a year, and let's say your savings account compounds monthly, instead of figuring out each month how much interest you're going to earn after it compounds, you can use this APY formula first, figure out what APY is, and then use your interest formula, which is simply principal times rate times time. So first off, let me give you the formulas real quick. APY is equal to 1 plus APR over time. I use T as time. And then your exponential number is going to be time also. These two numbers are the same. And then subtract out your 1 again. The amount of interest you're earning is equal to principal times rate. And your rate is going to be this APY times time. And whatever your rate is given in time, your time has to be the same. So if your rate is in annual terms, your time must be in annual terms, okay? If your rate is given in daily terms, like if your interest rate is like 0.001 for a day's interest, your time must be in days. So if you're trying to calculate how much interest you're going to earn in the next 15 days, and your interest rate is 0.001, then this has to be 15 days. And you'll have a problem like that at some point. Okay, so let's just go through a few things real quick. I could have probably left that APY formula up there, but I didn't. I'll put it back up there in a little bit. That's page 3. I wear glasses for a reason right now, folks. Rule of 72. This is something that you can use personally. Remember, the Rule of 72 is used for investments purposes. It's equal to the interest you could possibly earn times the time in years. Okay? So let's say you're given one of these. Okay? So let's say, and it always has to equal 72. And the rule of 69 applies with this as well. So let's say you have you're trying to figure out how much interest you need to earn, and you want your investment to double in, let's say, 6 years, okay? So you're trying to calculate how long it's going to take for your investment to double. Well, you know the time. You just need to figure out the interest. So if you divide both sides by 6, you'll see that your interest is equal to 12%. So you're going to have to earn 12% on average for the next 6 years in order to get your investment to double. Now, that doesn't matter if it's $1,000 and you want it to be $2,000. Doesn't matter if it's $10,000. It will turn into $20,000. And it doesn't matter if it's $1 million. After 6 years, with a 12% interest rate, it will turn into $2 million. Okay? Does not matter what size investment you use for this to work. All right, so that's your rule of 72. And you can go the other way to calculate the years too. So let's say you know your interest rate. The rule of 72 is, let's say, 10% times t. You don't know the t. Divide both sides by 10. And the time is going to be 7.2 years. It's going to take your investment 7.2 years to double at a 10% average interest rate over that period of time. Okay? So the higher interest rate is, the lower amount of time it'll take to double. Okay, that's basically how that works. Let's move on to the next page. Here's your APY formula. Okay, I will say this. The way it shows up on this page in Apex on page 5 is relatively confusing. Okay, because you have that equal sign in here, and basically what you have is two different formulas. Okay, this R is the same as APR. Okay, and that's what rate is. Rate, you're just plugging in what APR is. So if you look at my board here, let me just stop sharing screens real quick. Hopefully you guys saw the rule of 72 explanation good enough. I'll look at it on playback, but you guys can go through and figure that out. Remember, APY formula, 1 plus APR over, I use T, they use N. It doesn't matter because it is a number of times. So whatever letter you want to put in there, minus 1, okay? So that's your formula right there. Let me go back to sharing screens. I'm going to be going back and forth, and I apologize for that. And it's going to make it harder for me to edit, but you'll get it. And I think I can be able to show you guys with this little screen right here. I'll try to write big enough. We're going to use this example over here. You got two different savings accounts over here, all right? One of the savings, they both offer the same APR, annual percentage rate of 5%. However, this bank over here, ABC Bank, they compound monthly. That doesn't mean they pay 5% every month. They still pay 5% annually. However, they pay out interest on a monthly basis. So if you take this 5% and divide it by 12, that's the interest you're going to earn monthly, okay? And with the compounding effect, let's say you have $1,000 and you're earning, let's just say it's 0.5%. It's a little bit less than that actually, but let's just make it an easy term. You have $1,000, you're going to earn 0.5%. I believe that's $5 that you're going to earn. So now you have $1,005 after month number 1. The next month you're going to earn 0.5% on that $1,005. So you're going to have maybe $1,010.50. The next month, same thing. And that's the reason why you got to calculate APY. So you don't have to do that 12, 13 steps to figure out how much interest you earned. Now, with this other bank, this XYZ bank, this APY calculates interest at 5% APR, annual percentage rate, but it only compounds yearly, once a year. Once a year. Trying to find the camera. All right. So anytime you see that an interest rate compounds only once a year, APY is going to be the same as APR. All right. You do not have to calculate the APY formula if it compounds one time a year, because just think of it this way: anytime you multiply something by 1, it's going to be that number. So in this case, you have 5% APR. It only compounds one time a year, so 5 times 1 is 5. So your APR and APY are going to be the same, and that will be on your quiz. I promise you that, okay? So let's go back to this ABC Bank. All right, you have 5% APR that compounds monthly. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you guys can see this. All right, so figuring out APY, 1 plus, now you got to change this APR to a decimal form. Okay, so you have 5%, it's decimal form. You just take the decimal, move it to the left 2 times, and Now you have 0.05, 0.05, which is the same as 5%, okay? 0.05 is equal to 5%. You got to convert that to decimal form. Time is 12. It compounds 12 times because it compounds on a monthly basis. Now, if it compounds daily, how many days are in a year? Okay, you guys should know that. I'm not going to tell you that. If it compounds semi-annually, that means it's twice a year. If it compounds quarterly, how many quarters are in a dollar? Okay, that's going to be how many times it compounds on a quarterly basis. There is no weekly rate, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so in this case, it's compounding monthly, so there's 12 months in a year. Your exponential number is going to be 12, and then don't forget to subtract your 1. All right. Now let me show you guys this on a calculator. Again, I'm going back and forth, but I want you guys to understand this. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to use your calculator to calculate your APY. I have the calculator pulled up. You can see that it is a scientific calculator. If you pull up your calculator on your computer, it will probably look like this, a standard type calculator. So if you just go and click on the view button, select standard, that will expand your calculator out to what you need, because what you need is this y over x right here, this little button right here to calculate APY. So you have your problem written out, okay? 5% interest that's going to, in decimal form that is going to calculate or compound monthly, which is 12 times in a year, okay? Your exponential number is 12, and then you subtract out your 1 again. So you do everything inside the parentheses first. And anytime you have a problem inside the parentheses, you have to do your multiplication or division first, and then do your addition or subtraction. So we're going to start off with 0.05 divided by 12, 0.05 divided by 12, then press enter or equal. And you have a long number that's cast out like that. Next thing you do is do your plus 1. So hit plus 1 on your calculator and press enter or equal. You have, 1 point, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. Just leave it in your calculator. You don't need to round up or anything. Now you have to do your exponential number, okay? So this is where you go to your calculator and you use that y over x. So all you got to do is click the y over x and then type in 12 and press enter or equal. And you have 1.05 blah, 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 okay? And then the last thing you do is subtract out your 1. So minus 1, and you have your decimal form of your APY, okay? So in order to get what your actual APY is, you got to move that decimal back over to the right, or basically what you are doing is multiplying this by 100. So multiply by 100, and you'll see what your APY is. Your APY is 5.116189. You only need to go out 2 decimal places, which is out to the nearest hundredth. So you'll round up to the nearest hundredth. So your APY will wind up being 5.12%. Okay? So now we'll go back to the board and I'll show you what you need to do from this point. Let's see. Oh, I don't want that. Again. From there, you can do your interest formula. So let's say you have $1,000 in your account, and you want to figure out how much interest you're going to earn over 1 year's time. Okay, so you know your principal times rate times time, and I'm just going to do this over here. So your principal is the $1,000. We're going to start off with $1,000 times your rate. This is your APY. Okay, that rate has to be in decimal terms. So, okay, so you got to convert that to a decimal, which means you're moving that decimal back over to the left 2 places. 0.0512 times time, it's only 1 year. So really you're taking the 1,000 times the 0.0512. Your interest is equal to $51.20. That's how much interest you're going to earn in the account. And in order to find out how much is in the account at the end of the year, all you do is simply just add the $1,000 to it. You have $1,051.20. Okay, so really pay attention to what the problem's asking. Sometimes it's going to ask how much interest you'll earn. Sometimes it wants to know how much is in the account. So really focus in on what the problem's asking. All right? Anytime you have a problem that says you have a bank account, you have a savings account that has an APR of, let's say, 4%, and it compounds more than once a year, you have to do this formula. Automatic. That's number one. You have to do that formula. So if it compounds more than once a year, boom, you know you're doing this. Okay? Now the next thing is if the next part of the problem says how much interest will you earn at the end of 2 years? Then you know you have to do APY and your interest formula. And since it's 2 years, that T will be 2. Okay? So you got to figure out the rate, which is APY, and your principal. It should be given in the problem. Hopefully it'll say you have $2,000 in your account, or $3,000, or $1 million. Who knows? Okay? So you'll know what to plug into these formulas. All right. I know I'm going kind of fast on this because I'm trying not to take 10 or 15 minutes to create this video. But if you have any questions, play this video again. Okay? Hit rewind or something and back it up and watch this again. I know it's kind of just put out there and I went over it quickly, but again, it's nice to have these videos so you can go back and play it again. There is one other part I want to go over real quick with you guys, and that is, let me go back to sharing screen. Let me see what page it is, because you're going to have absolutely one problem for sure on this, and I'm going to whiz through this real quick. And on this particular problem, you're not going to have APY. That's it right there. Okay. You will have a problem on this. Okay. Assume there is however many days in the month, whatever's given, and the APR is whatever they're given. In this case, it's 4%, and there's 30 days in the month. Okay. Since interest is calculated on a daily basis, you're needing to figure out the periodic interest rate. Okay, so you're going to take the interest rate in a decimal form, which means you're going to move that decimal place over 2 places to the left, okay, and divide it by 365 because interest is calculated on a daily basis. And this is going to tell you about approximately how much interest you will earn on a daily basis, okay? So that is your periodic interest formula, okay? So let me erase this board real quick. Give me just a second. Zoom, 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 zoom. We're not using APR. In this particular problem, you will not calculate APR whatsoever, or APY, I'm sorry. You will not calculate APY. You're calculating periodic interest rate, which is simply taking the interest, the APR in decimal form, and divide it by the number of times it's going to compound in a year. In this case, since it's calculated on a daily basis, since interest is calculated on a daily basis, you're dividing this by 365. And this is approximately the interest you will earn on a daily basis. Okay? So your problem is going to be just like this. Okay? For this first 15 days, your balance is $1,000. Okay? And you're trying to figure out how much interest you're earning at the end of the month is what you're doing. And you got about 5 steps to this. Okay? So this is page 10. So I want you guys to look at page 10. I'm going to go back and get out of this screen share and I am going to just verbally go over this. You can go to page 10 and look over this, but I'm going to go over this step by step. So first thing you have to do is periodic interest rate, which they already did for you, but you're going to have to actually do it in the problem when you guys equal to APR over number times compounds per year. That's a year. Let me erase that. So in this case, it's daily. Okay. So we have 0.04 divided by 365, and that equals 0.00011. And that's actually approximate. That little squiggly sign above the equal sign, that means approximately equal to. Okay? So now that's step number 1. Step number 2, 3, and 4, you're using that interest formula. It's equal to principal times rate times time. Okay, these dots are multiplication. Okay, so interest is equal to, the first 15 days, your balance is $1,000. So now our principal is $1,000. Our rate says 0.00011. And our time is, since this is given in days, this has to be given in days. So that's going to be 15. And this is going to be approximately, I'm not going to go through and calculate this on a calculator. I'm just going to give you an approximate. You guys can go through and calculate on a calculator, but this is going to be about $1.65. So the first 15 days, you're going to earn about $1.65. $1.65. Okay? Now, the third step, on day 16, you deposit $150. So you have $1,000 in your account. On day 16, you now have $150 that you're depositing. So you're adding $150 to this $1,000. Okay? So you're going to have $1,150 multiplied times 0.0011. And then from day 16 to day 20, you don't have any activity going on until day 20. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's 5 days, okay? So for the next 5 days, you're going to have $1,150 in your account. So you're trying to figure out the interest for that. And that's, let's just say it's 35 cents. It's probably more than that, but for the sake of arguing and going through all the calculations, you guys can do that. And I'm just trying to have a quick example here. And step number 4, okay, it says number 4 on the third part of this, day 20, you withdraw $200. And then there's no other activity through the rest of the month, okay? So you're withdrawing $200. So now 1,150 minus the 200 is $950. Still have the 0.00011, and from day 20 to day 30, that's 10 days. Okay, and that's going to be roughly, let's just say, $1.50. I don't know what it's going to be, but let's just say it's $1.50. Now, step number 5, and this is where you're calculating all your interest. All you're doing is simply adding all this up right here. And the 35 and the 65, that's $1 plus that's 2. It's going to be about $3.50 approximately. That is your answer to this question, okay? So you're going through all 5 of these steps in order to solve that particular problem. You will have one problem on this for your quiz. I can promise you that. So if you can do the APY formula, if you can really just read your problems, figure out what the question's asking, and if you can do this, you'll get a 90 out of 100. No problem on this quiz. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to either email me or contact me for tutoring, or just rewind the video and watch certain spots that you just don't understand again. Because once you guys see how to do this, it's not really hard. So. And this is what most students struggle with anyway in this course. And there's a little bit of this going into Unit 5 as well. So I just want you guys to understand that. But it's slightly different. All right. Again, if you have any questions, either give me a call. My phone number is 973-5108, or you can email me at wthompson1@usd259.net, or you can hit me up on Skype. Any one of those ways, that'll work. Have a great day, and good luck in 432.